Hey folks, Jonathan here. Back to work on our little motorcycle engine. Cold rainy day here in North Carolina. I say cold, in the 40s, which I know that's not cold to a lot of you, but once you get used to the hot weather, 40 degrees is pretty cold. But I wanted to show you what I got going on here. I did a lot of drawing, trying to get the measurements and the size I wanted. What we've got here, I couldn't find what I really wanted. I ended up with a piece of pine. And it's a nice piece, you know, kind of an expensive piece with no knots and stuff. So I don't know what grade you'd call it, but I call it the expensive grade. But anyway, I went ahead and cut a piece, and I just cut a little, like a 4x4 piece out and put it in the Bridgeport. I wanted to see what it would do, and it seems to do a pretty good job. You know, just leaves a little bit of a lip here, and I've got a 2-fluted end mill on it, and I think it was a 5/8 end mill, but I just wanted to make sure I could actually take some down with it. And you know, this was just a test piece. It seemed to work really good, you know, because I'm gonna have to round and sand all the corners and stuff anyway. So you know, I was worried that as soon as that thing hit it, it was gonna start throwing chips and breaking it apart. And tried it at a few different speeds, and it seemed to work out real good. So I think we'll be fine here. But got me 5 little poster boards here. I'm going to start doing my first pattern, and you know, we're going to build this in sections. And okay, for our first circle, what I'm doing is I've got this compass here. I guess that's what you call it. It's what I called them back in school. This is a little nicer than the ones we had at school, but basically what I did was just figure out the half from the center to the outside on this. I don't want to use this. I want to get it a little straighter there. So we're going to use that, and then that's also going to give us a center point, because we'll have a little dot in the paper. So instead of just drawing around this, I just used that to get the size. So we'll go ahead and get the circle made and keep working with it. Okay, I got our circle drawn here. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's awful light, but I can see it just fine. But we got to find our flat at the top, and that's where our cylinder is going to bolt. But what we want to do is go off of this center. There's a little tiny center hole there that comes from our compass. And what we've done, this was the measurements from the crankshaft to the bottom of the cylinder, which was 2.680, and our diameter of our crankshaft was 1.110. So when we split it in half, it was 0.555, and then you add it to your distance from your crank to the bottom. Then what we're doing is we're adding half the crankshaft to find the center. And it's 3.235 to the center. And just to double check, what we'll do, we got our caliper set up at 3.235, and we'll go over to our cylinder, and we'll just do a double check on it here to get an idea. Put it at the bottom and then check, and just make sure it makes sense, you know, that we're at the center, and we're at the center of the crankshaft right there. But you know, if you was down here or up here, you know you had something off on your math, but that's just a quick check. But so we've got our compression height, but now what we want to do is go higher than that, because we're going to machine the top of our case, and also allow for shrinkage. So I'm probably going to leave probably a 1/4 inch high, and you just make sure that we make the thickness enough on the inside of the case so we can machine it off. So that's what we're going to do now. Right here, let me see, here's a little hole. I'm hoping you can see that line. It's not very dark. I should have pushed it a little harder, I guess. But we go to that center hole right here and up, you know, that actually shows us where we need our flat at. It looks like it's about 1 inch below the top, so we're going to go up just a little bit more, and then we'll put us a line there, and that'll be our top. Okay, I darkened our line up a little bit now. Maybe you can see it a little better. And I've got our flat drawn up top, so that's where we're going to do it at. Like I said, it'll be about a 1/4 inch lower than that by the time we're done. And we'll check and make sure that the distance is going to be long enough for the cylinder. I'll have to measure that, and if not, you know, we'll have to come out and come up a little bit. But we'll check all that before we're done. Now we've got to do some bump outs for our bolts. Now we're also going to put mounts on each side of this to mount it into the frame, but we're not going to do it on this outer plate. That's going to be on a plate farther in, so we'll do it later, and we'll do some new patterns, or we're going to keep doing the patterns. So now all we got to do is go ahead and get our out, and then I'm going to do a circle hole. This is going to be the side for the output, and then we'll do our circle, and that'll actually be the bump out for where the bearing goes in from the inside. So I'll show you more. Okay, what we're going to do here, we're going to make this an 8-bolt case, and I think Harley-Davidson actually started out with a lower amount of bolts, and they later on went to 8 bolts. But what we're going to do is we're going to put bump outs on here, and there's going to be a place for 8 bolts, 4 on each side, and or 4 facing this way and 4 that way. And we just need to make sure we come under our mount enough, because we're going to actually bring that down, 1/4 inch or whatever. And we could bump out some right here and then bring it down and around, and we can machine it off and just leave room for our bolt down low. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and do that, and I think that'll be it on this piece. This will be ready to actually cut out and use as a pattern, and we'll use this for a pattern for the other side. Like I said, the only difference is going to be this one's going to be bumped out with just a bearing race, or a place for the bearing, and the other side is going to be bumped out bigger, because we're going to try to have a bump out for where our cams are going to mount. And then and we're going to put mounts on the side, but like I said, they're going to be farther in, and this is just a quick drawing. I'm not an artist, so okay, hopefully you can see this. Got it drawn out how I want it. We'll cut it out, and then for our piece that sticks out, we'll draw that into wood. That's not a big deal. But this will give us a good wood pattern. This will be the outside, and then we'll flip it over to do for the other case on the other side. That way we know everything lines up right. I measured everything out, and it's just going to be a lot more of a chance of it lining up if I do it that way, using the same pattern, just flip it. So anyway, we're going to get this cut out and get it transferred to the wood, and maybe get a piece cut out. Okay, we've got it cut out to the best of my ability anyway. You got to remember, I hadn't been in kindergarten in 40 years, so we're going to go ahead and trace this out to the wood, and we'll see if we can get a piece cut. And also, I went ahead and marked pulley side, and then on the other side, of course, I put cam side, and that way we won't get mixed up. So we've got exact opposites, but that way they'll be facing each other. No matter what, if I'm off a little bit on one of these, they'll still line up. So should work out good. All right, show you more. Okay, we got one piece cut out, as good as I can cut it anyway. I bought one of the little narrow scroll saw blades for my jigsaw, so it didn't do too bad. I mean, I can work with it. Once we get it all glued up and everything, we're going to do a lot of filing, sanding and stuff on it anyway. So, looks fine for me. Okay, what I've done is I took our paper and I transferred our center mark. It's right there. And we'll try to explain what I'm going to do here. Here's a bearing. Okay, we're going to actually run a center mark around, and we're going to come out a ways, with probably 1/2 inch all the way around. But that piece is actually going to be protruding out. But I'm not going to do it by adding to the wood. I'm going to take away from everything else. And then I think I'll do the same thing up here. I'm going to protrude this out up top, but I'm going to do it in a wedge. But what I'll do is I'll leave part of it, wedge it out, and that way we'll have room for our cylinder coming around. And so I'm probably going to lose 1/4 inch off of the whole surface of this, so I don't want to go to filing or anything. And I'm going to glue it up before I do that. I'm going to go ahead and get our other pieces done, and I'm going to figure out, I know I've got to use 2 more, but I've got to figure out where our brackets are going to come out for our mounts, and so I want to add them on one of the other layers, possibly just the 3rd layer and maybe the 2nd too. But so we'll figure that out now. And I got a light bulb going out in my fluorescent light here, so you see it going on and off. But anyway, get back at it. I want to add another thing too here real quick. On these corners right in here, we're not going to leave them like that. Actually, when I get this case glued together and everything, and I go to do the final, I'll take my finger and smear some Bondo in between all of them and make it smooth, and it'll be more rounded in there. And we're not going to have anything sharp like that. So we can always add to it, using Bondo or whatever we need. All right. Okay, folks, I still got this light going crazy over here. I got 4 bulbs in this fluorescent, and it's one's going on and off. But anyway, this is our second one. And if you noticed, I marked pulley side. I don't want to accidentally get it flipped over and get the wrong side, but I've got the opening inside of it, and I think we can work with this. We'll cut it out and see. I hope it's going to be strong enough through there. And I was supposed to turn this and orient it the other way so the grain ran the opposite. I didn't do it. But I think we'll be okay. And I can actually pre-drill and run some screws down through the mount into the next one. I just can't do it until after I get my 1/4 inch off of the surface. I wanted to glue it up and get it together first, so I may not even do that. I may just glue it and let it sit overnight or a day or whatever we need to let it sit. We're going to get this piece cut out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, folks, got another one of them done, and you can probably see now why I don't do carpentry work. It's kind of rough cutting that other one out because everything's so thin. You can see the hole. Now we got to do one more just like it, except we're going to have 2 brackets on it at the bottom coming out for the mounts, and then they'll end up being about a 1/4 inch on this one, and then a 1/4 inch on the other one thick, and then we'll have 2 1/2 inch mounting pieces to come off. So when they butt up, they'll go together. But anyway, we're going to keep at it. I think I'm going to end this one here, and yeah, I think I'm going to end this one here, and we'll keep at it and see what we can get figured out. And once I get it all glued up and everything, and I did break it in one spot, matter of fact, right here, it cracked apart on me. But using a jigsaw, I do have a bandsaw, but I don't have a skinny blade for sharp turns. But I'll have to file all these corners and get it all straightened out, and then we'll get it together. Not a big deal. It's just the nicer I would do with the saw, the less work I'd probably have to do after. But it's just the way it goes. But we'll get it all together, and then we'll be ready to cast. Now the other thing is I do not have a foundry anymore. I don't have a smelter. I actually sold mine a few years back, and the guy I sold it to is a friend of mine, and he said that I could borrow it back, but I don't want to do that. So we're gonna make one 55-gallon drum, and I just got to pick up some perlite. I use regular sand, they say silica sand, but I use it out of the driveway here because I'm in North Carolina, and some Portland cement, and just a little bit of cutting and welding, and we can have one together in no time. And we'll build us a crucible, and I like to do them out of cast iron, but steel works fine for what we're doing. Just a round piece of pipe, and then but we'll build all of it. We won't take too long doing it. I have a good way of doing a burner, and I just use propane. I don't inject air into it like a lot of people do. I just use straight propane. It don't take long at all to melt it, and we'll get that done, and we'll keep at this. And I'll probably do quite a bit, off camera, but I'll go ahead and, show you stuff when I can. But, all right. I hope I'm not boring you to death. Appreciate everybody watching. Till next time. Bye.